10:21 a.m., our PA crackled, and a calm voice said, "Active threat. Lockdown. This is not a drill." But here's the thing. That voice was my AP history teacher's. But she was in our room, right in front of me, mouthing, "I didn't say that." It was late September 2022, that weird month when schools across the country kept getting hit with active shooter calls. I'd read about it. Florida, Minnesota, Louisiana, Virginia. More than 90 hoax calls in a couple of weeks, but reading it and living it are two very different things. I'm Evan. I was in my senior year, and this happened during third period. In room 204. We were doing DBQs when the intercom crackled. Not the principal, not the usual steady cadence. It was Ms. Herrera's voice, all right, only flatter, like it had been ironed. "Active threat, lockdown, move now." Chairs scraped. Our door was locked. We killed the lights. Then my phone buzzed. "Mom, are you okay?" Another buzz, a number I didn't recognize. "Stay quiet. Text only." On the floor behind the lab benches, we did the drill but not a drill shuffle. Knees to chests, backpacks as walls. All the stuff adults say will make you smaller, I guess. In the silence, I could hear the building breathe. Fluorescent bulbs humming like bees behind the walls. Someone in the hall ran. Their steps slid like they didn't trust the wax. The PA crackled again. Same voice, same lines. But this time, it added our hallway. Second floor, science wing, lock and cover. It felt targeted, like whoever was talking could see the map. Ms. Herrera looked at me and pointed to the ceiling speaker. Her eyes said, "That isn't us." She texted something to a teacher group chat I never saw. A second later, she showed me her screen. "District alert system is down." The office didn't make that call. My mouth went dry, the way paper does when it's too close to a space heater. A soft vibration rolled under us, like a washing machine in a place you can't find. The door handle flexed, slow, respectful. Then it stopped. A metal key clicked in the lock. Once, twice. We held our breath until it hurt, but the key didn't turn. My phone lit up, that unsaved number again. "If you hear a knock, don't answer. Wait for a key and ID." Down the corridor, a voice, not the PA, a real voice. "Open up, it's the office." But it was too casual, no authority. Then a door opened, followed by a low thud, not loud, just heavy enough to make my gut fold. We waited for sirens, but nothing. No Doppler, no radio chatter, just the electric buzz and dreaded silence. At 10:47, a new message hit every screen in class. "Do not open the door for anyone. Law enforcement not inside." The text banner said, "District alerts," but the number looked wrong. 6 digits, no name. Ms. Herrera tapped it, but the info card was blank. At 11:03, the key came. You can tell it's real from the sound. The faint scrape as it goes in, the soft clicks when the pins align, then the solid turn that frees the lock. The door eased open until the magnet caught. A calm, deep voice came through. "Sheriff's office," sliding his ID under the door. The hallway felt like someone had just whispered and swallowed it. Room 206 had a chair wedged under the knob, and room 208's lights were still on, papers scattered everywhere, like someone stood up in urgency and just left their day behind. In the stairwell, the air was sharp, hot, that dusty, overheated smell you get when a TV or computer's been on too long. They staged us in the gym. The principal's voice shook on a portable PA. We received a series of spoofed calls. Multiple agencies responded. "We're safe." Safe is a big word to use when your hands still won't unclench. A deputy took statements. When she got to me, I told her about the voice on the PA, that it used my teacher's tone, and about the text that said law enforcement wasn't inside. She wrote it down, like she'd heard it before. Then she asked, "Did you hear recorded gunfire?" I shook my head. "Some schools did," she said. "Pre-recorded audio, they pipe it right into phone lines." She said it like a mechanic, explaining a part that keeps failing on certain models. Familiar, infuriating. That night, I went through my notifications. One stood out, a voicemail with no caller ID, time-stamped 10:22. I hit play. The first 5 seconds are classroom air, the gentle hiss of vents, a pencil scratching, then my teacher's voice. Active threat, lockdown, but under it, almost too low to catch, distant pops, and a man's breath. 1, 2, 3, then click. It ended with my own whisper, layered under everything. And I swear to you, I didn't say it. They're not in the building. The next morning, we met in the auditorium. The superintendent talked about bad actors, VoIP, caller ID spoofing. He said late that September, there were coordinated hoax calls in 16 states, more than 90 incidents in just 3 weeks. The FBI was involved. Some calls were traced back to internet apps, even numbers from outside the US. All of the parents asked who it was that targeted us, but no answer. They upgraded our PA after that. New software, 2-factor admin logins, more cameras, the kind that blink like they're thinking. It felt like changing locks after someone tries your door, and maybe that's the point. A week later, Miss Herrera handed me a flash drive. Public records request, she said. They sent us the audio log from the first announcement. She half smiled. You're the tech kid. You'll hear what I heard. At home, I dragged the file into my editor, watched the waveform roll like a quiet ocean. I soloed the low frequencies. Buried under the words, under her voice, was a faint bed of room tone that didn't match our school. There was a distant echo, like tile and glass, more space than people, and right before the phrase, "This is not a drill," I caught it, a breath that wasn't hers, younger, almost excited. On my phone, that unknown number pinged one last time, then vanished from my history like it never existed. Next time, wait for the second key. I know these doors. I didn't sleep much after that. I keep thinking how easy it was for someone outside, or worse, inside, to make the walls talk. How a voice becomes a weapon when it steals a familiar tone. How a lock means nothing if the right sound can walk straight through it. And sometimes, when the hallway's empty and the lights hum just right, I still hear it, that almost right version of a voice I trust, telling me what to do. I'm just not sure if that was the last time, or if it's still happening, somewhere close enough to hear, but too far to stop. At 9:15 a.m., our high school went into lockout because of clown threats on Facebook. 2 hours later, someone in a mask was staring through our classroom window, only our door doesn't have a window. My name's Layla. I was a junior at North Babylon High, 2nd floor, English 2. If you remember the fall of 2016, then you remember the clown mess, social media posts, parking lot sightings, kids swearing someone in a mask chased their bus. Suffolk County cops were everywhere on the news, saying they were taking it seriously. That morning felt normal, until it didn't. Our principal's voice came over the PA. We're initiating a lockout due to external threats reported in the area. Teaching will continue. Do not open the doors. Security will manage traffic. A couple of groans, a few nervous laughs. Mrs. Delaney pulled the shade on the hall window and kept reading The Crucible like it was a dare. 40 minutes later, the building's energy shifted. The hall felt hollow. The gap under our door glowed brighter, like the lights outside had stepped closer. A soft thud hit the door, not a knock, more like someone leaning their head against it, then pulling away. We all looked up. Mrs. Delaney froze. Through the narrow gap between the frame and the hall, something pale moved, just enough to know it was a face. White, red mouth, bright blue triangles over the eyes, a cheap clown mask. The chin cracked, like it's been used too many times. It tilted, just a fraction, like it was listening. The heat rushed to my ears. 2 kids laughed, the kind of laugh people use when they just want the world to swallow them up. Mrs. Delaney texted the office without looking away. "Are officers on the 2nd floor?" Unknown at the door. The reply came fast. "No officers at classrooms, stay sealed." The clown didn't knock, we could just hear it breathing. And that was worse than any bang. Then the face sank out of sight, not left or right, but straight down. 5 minutes later, security swept our hall. 2 assistant principals, a custodian, and a cop. They checked every latch and told us, probably a kid joking, nothing to worry about. Their voices were careful, like talking to puppies. Then someone cracked a joke. Relief rippled through the room, and for a moment the room remembered how to be a room. At lunch, police presence doubled. We ate in classrooms. My friend Jess sent me a link. Another high school had gone into lockout that morning too. Central Islip. Same clown threats. No arrests. No credible danger, police said. I read every sentence twice, like meaning would shake loose if I looked hard enough. 7th period, my guidance counselor emailed a safety update. Extra patrols after dismissal, report anything suspicious, and no masks allowed on campus, as if people needed to be told that. I went home with my mom, no after-school activities, not that day. At 6:14 p.m., Mrs. Delaney posted the homework. Attached was a photo she'd taken for building services, a warped spot in the veneer of our classroom door, right where we'd seen the face. If you zoom in, the wood grain curved into a pale oval, about the size and shape of a glass window, lighter than the rest, like it had been sanded and refinished long ago. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, all I see is that cheap clown mask staring back at me. The next morning, lockout lifted. Patrol cars still sat by the entrance like blue and white punctuation. I went early to ask Mrs. Delaney if I could see the door. She said sure, humor me. Up close it was just wood and metal, no glass, no frame. But my stomach turned. A smear of red grease paint stained the surface, stamped downward. 2 faint finger trails in it, like whoever touched it lost their grip. The custodian came with solvent, apologizing for the mess. Kids, he said, tired. He wiped it clean in 3 passes. Then he touched the pale oval. You know, a long time ago, these classroom doors did have windows, but the district filled them, he said. 18, 20 years back, maybe more. Why? Mrs. Delaney asked. He shrugged. Security, privacy, depends on who you ask. And in my head, I saw the hallway 20 years ago, a line of doors with windows, faces behind glass, some of those faces still here, painted or not. That afternoon, I checked the district's security update. Clean, normal words, no credible threat, rumors unsubstantiated. Students will be disciplined for disruptions. At night, Jess sent me a Facebook image, a still frame, time-stamped 9:58 a.m., the 2nd floor, our hallway. On the right was our classroom door, and on the left, a trophy case. No people, no clown, but the light over our door looked brighter, like it had been turned up a notch. The comment thread underneath spiraled into nonsense. I closed the app and stared at my own door at home, where the brass deadbolt catches with a little notch you can feel. Somewhere in the early morning, half asleep, I heard it. The smallest squeak, like rubber peeling from a cheek. I turned on my lamp. Nothing, just my poster with a corner curling and a shadow on the wall where it shouldn't be. The following week at school, they replaced our classroom door. New wood, new hardware, solid. When I press my palm to it now, it's cool, steady. But sometimes, standing there, I still see his face in that narrow gap. White, red mouth, blue triangles, like he never left the hallway at all. I'm Alex. I was a senior at Greenwood Central High. If you lived anywhere in Illinois in 2018, you probably remember January 17th, a Wednesday, the kind of winter day where the air feels sharper than glass, and the sun barely makes it past the rooftops. That was the day we had a lockdown, 3 hours long, an armed trespasser on school grounds. At least, that's what the official statement said. Local news covered it, Facebook groups exploded, parents traded rumors for days. That morning started like any other. I was late, my car wouldn't start, and by the 3rd period I was in the art room, in the far left corner by the windows. We were working on still life paintings. Mine was of apples and a chipped ceramic mug. Then the PA crackled. The voice was calm, but it was too calm. Lockdown, intruder inside school grounds, lock all doors, no movement until further notice. The deadbolt slammed into place, louder than I expected. Ms. Martine, usually patient, gentle, snapped into clipped whispers and sharp movements. Get down, stay low, draw the blinds. The metal blinds rattled shut. The air went heavy. Everyone held their breath at once. I slid down against the wall, the cinder block pressing against my back. From there, I could see the door's glass pane, winter light leaking through it, the blue lockers faintly visible, and then nothing. No shouting, no running footsteps, just silence so deep it's unnerving. Minutes stretched like hours, every building creak amplified. The hum of the radiator, the faint tap, tap, tap of a loose window somewhere. Someone whispered, "Does anyone know what's going on?" No one answered. Phones buzzed in laps. Mine, dozens of unread messages. What's happening? My mom's freaking out. Don't move, she said. At one point, a shadow crossed the strip of light under the door, slow, deliberate, like someone standing just outside. We all held our breath. Seconds later, it was gone. Finally, 2 sharp knocks, then the assistant principal's voice. Police are clearing the building. Remain in place until they reach your room. An officer in tactical gear opened the door, scanned the room, and nodded. You're clear. We were released 30 minutes later. No shots fired, no one hurt, just suspect in custody. But the details, they never came. Weeks later, a friend in the office showed me security footage, time-stamped 1:21 p.m., halfway through the lockdown. It showed the east hallway, the one with the vending machines. I saw myself, walking, earbuds glowing faintly, head down, phone in hand. But in the far corner of the frame, and then in the next frame, gone. I replayed it 50 times, every time the same, me, walking, and that figure in the background. When I showed it to the assistant principal, she stayed silent, then said, "There's no record of anyone in that hallway. The building was locked." I asked if it was a glitch. She said, "Maybe, but glitches don't get that specific." A week later we had locker cleanout day. I passed that same hallway. One locker was propped open, empty, except for a small framed photo, a class picture. Early 90s maybe. 10 kids lined up in front of the same hallway window. On the back it said 1992. Written in pencil was the number 17. Then I flipped it over, and under the photo, in neat cursive, it said, "Wait for the window." The glass felt warm in my hands, even though the hallway was freezing. I slipped it into my backpack. When I showed it to Ms. Martine, she stared a long time, then shook her head. Maybe a yearbook photo, or a prank. But her voice didn't sound convinced. After that, the school changed things. Cameras rotated more, hallways restricted after 3 p.m. Art room blinds stayed shut. But one Friday, weeks later, I stayed late to finish my painting. The halls were empty, lights half off. As I passed that same window, the security camera's red light blinked twice, almost like it was watching me. And then, in the reflection of the glass, I saw it, tall, still, silent, standing behind me. I spun around, nothing, only my reflection staring back. That photo's still in my desk drawer, edges curled, the year faded, the number almost gone. I've counted the kids in it too many times, 16 students, but the back says 17, which means one of them wasn't supposed to be there. Maybe that 17th wasn't alive anymore. Or maybe they're the one I saw in the reflection, the one caught in the frame. The one I can't quite forget, because every lock click and every camera whir, that hallway, feels like it's watching. Sometimes, it's not the person you see that's dangerous. It's the ones you don't see, the one who's already been there, waiting,